A monastery floats at the very edge of a vertical cliff, suspended above clouds that have no floor. Prayer flags catch the alpine wind above a valley so green it seems to generate its own soft light. Golden sunrise spills across a ridge of Himalayan peaks in long, slow waves of warm, amber morning light. A river the color of glacial jade curves silently beneath the white walls of an ancient stone fortress. Mist rises from the pine forests below in slow spirals, filling every valley with a moving white sea. Terraced hillsides glow under the first morning light, each level a different shade of gold and pale green. A winding mountain road appears and opens into a valley that feels entirely hidden from the outside world. The clouds here do not simply pass through, they settle, drift, and rearrange the mountains around them. This country has no true equivalent on this earth, no parallel, no other version of what it has become. This is Bhutan, a kingdom sealed deep inside the eastern Himalayas, untouched by the ordinary world beyond. It covers less land than Switzerland, yet holds more visual beauty than most continents ever fully reveal. 70% of its entire surface is covered in forest that has never been cleared for any development. Its mountains rise to 7,000 meters and cast long blue shadows across valleys no road has entered. The country placed happiness above profit in its constitution and wrote environmental protection into law. More trees stand here today than stood 50 years ago. That almost never happens on this earth. Every building is painted in the same traditional style by law, as if the whole kingdom is one composition. No advertising billboards exist anywhere on Bhutanese roads. The landscape presents itself without interruption. The air arriving from the high Himalayas is cold and clear, carrying the scent of pine and cedar smoke. At Paro Valley's edge, Tiger's Nest Monastery clings to granite at 3,000 meters with perfect grace. It was built in the 8th century and has looked exactly this way ever since, perfectly still. Clouds pass beneath it rather than above it, and the monastery watches them go with centuries of patience. No photograph prepares you for its true scale, the cliff, the drop, the silence, and the beauty. Bhutan is the country the modern world somehow left alone, and that restraint has made it utterly extraordinary. Waterfalls appear on cliffs with no visible summit, descending through fern-covered rock into clear river pools. The morning light here arrives in gold, passes through amber, and spends the afternoon in long rose shadows. Every road bend in this kingdom reveals something the previous view could not have suggested was coming next. The rivers run turquoise where glacial water meets the valley air, a color that belongs nowhere else on Earth. Bhutan does not resemble anywhere else on Earth, and that is the most profoundly beautiful thing about it. The clouds over Bhutan do not behave like clouds elsewhere. They spill through mountain passes like rivers. They descend into valleys, wrap around monastery walls and softened every sharp edge with quiet presence. At dawn, the Phobjika Valley fills with mist so complete that the hillsides appear to float above it. The sun burns the mist away in golden layers, revealing the valley as if for the very first time. Prayer flags cross every high ridge in long, bright lines of white and red and yellow and brilliant blue. Each flag releases its sacred text slowly into the mountain wind, line by line across the alpine sky. The Punakha Dzong rises above the river confluence, its white walls reflected in both water surfaces at once. In spring, the jacaranda trees around it turn entirely violet, framing the ancient fortress in extraordinary bloom. The Mochu and Fochu rivers meet beneath its walls in a slow and graceful collision of currents. Waterfalls appear without warning along high mountain roads, descending 40 clear meters in one unbroken white column. The falling water catches afternoon light and turns silver before vanishing into the green darkness of the gorge. Bhutan's forests change color by altitude, subtropical green at the valley floor, dark pine through the mid-slopes. Above the tree line, the world turns to gold and pale rock, then the permanent deep blue of open sky. Black-necked cranes migrate here each winter from the Tibetan Plateau to rest in the Phobjika Valley below. They arrive in November in loose, spiraling formations, drifting down like slow gray snowflakes into marsh grass. The valley holds them for months, and the Bhutanese consider their arrival a blessing on the entire region. A river road through the Punakha Valley curves between rice fields that mirror the sky in their shallow water. Farmhouses with carved wooden windows sit at field edges, smoke rising slowly from rooftops into cold valley air. Rhododendron forests in spring become walls of red and pink across the entire middle elevation of the mountains. In March, the slopes above Thimphu ignite in color so vivid the bloom appears on satellite imagery. The Dochula Pass at 3,000 meters is lined with 108 white memorial chortens in stone. On clear mornings, the Bhutanese Himalayas appear behind them, a wall of snow peaks crossing the full horizon. The shadow of the mountains moves across the valley in a slow daily rhythm, a clock made of light. By late afternoon, the valley floor falls into blue shadow, while the peaks above hold full golden sun. That division, dark valley, lit peaks, is the most beautiful hour of any Bhutanese day anywhere. The wind through high-elevation pine trees here carries a resonance unlike any other forest sound. Streams follow every mountain road downhill, arriving at the river shortly before the road itself arrives. Bhutan is a landscape in constant motion, always showing something more beautiful than what it just revealed. The Bhutanese did not build across their landscape. They built gently within it, as any living thing would. Tiger's Nest clings to a granite cliff at such an angle it seems to grow from the rock. Its white walls and golden rooftops have been part of this cliff face for 1,300 years of mornings. The path climbing to it winds through blue pine and rhododendron, scented with cedar smoke from below. Every zong was positioned where a river bends or a valley narrows, placed for beauty and for meaning. The Rinpung Zong at Paro rises above its river on a stone platform, a crown above the valley. Its whitewashed walls are 5 stories high and reflect in the Paro Shu River in every season. Carved wooden windows painted in red and gold look out across farmland that has been cultivated for 6 centuries. The Trungsa Zong commands a narrow gorge so precisely placed that from its towers the whole kingdom slows down. Traditional Bhutanese homes use rammed earth walls, wooden overhangs, and intricately carved window frames throughout. Each home is painted with sacred motifs, lotus flowers, cloud patterns, and sacred symbols on the plasterwork. The architecture was never modernized because modernity was never considered an improvement on what existed. Farmers in the Bumthong Valley have cultivated buckwheat in fields holding the same crop rotation for 5 centuries. The harvest patterns in autumn create geometric terraces of rust and gold, visible from the ridges high above. Prayer wheels line the riverbanks at every village, each one spinning in the current, each turning a sacred text. The rivers here carry everything placed beside them: prayer, intention, and the gentle weight of many centuries. A hidden temple called Takht Chang sits alone in forest above the Paro Valley, reached only by a steep footpath. Inside it, butter lamps have burned continuously for hundreds of years, unchanged from one generation to the next. The cedar and juniper incense in Bhutanese temples is unlike anything that exists anywhere else in any other form. It arrives before the temple is visible, moving through pine trees and announcing what is about to appear. Monks in saffron robes cross stone courtyards each morning, their movements quiet and completely unhurried. The Zong courtyards are proportioned with extraordinary care, wide enough to feel sacred and closed enough to hold. Festival thangkas, enormous painted silk scrolls, are unfurled down Zong facades once each year at dawn. They appear from the valley floor as squares of gold and crimson against the white fortress wall. Textiles woven in Bhutan use patterns passed through families for generations, no 2 districts sharing the same design. The deep indigo, saffron, and crimson of those textiles repeat the same colors of the landscape surrounding them. Wooden granaries above Bumthong sit on stone legs, keeping the grain above the snow line through every long winter. All of Bhutanese civilization looks less like something built and more like something grown from the mountain soil. There is a moment on every Bhutanese mountain road when the clouds part and the valley below reappears. It happens without warning. The mist shifts, the light changes, and the world beneath you is revealed. That moment occurs every day somewhere in this kingdom, and every time it is as beautiful as the first. Tiger's Nest at golden hour turns warm amber, the cliff face behind it held in lingering blue shadow. The monastery glows while the valley below holds soft twilight, two different times of day in one view. The Himalayas beyond Bhutan's northern border form a wall of light-catching peaks that shift color every half hour. At dawn, they are pale lavender, then rose, then the blinding silver of full Himalayan midday sun above. Gangkhar Punsum, the highest unclimbed mountain on Earth, rises above the northern valleys in permanent snow. No human foot has stood on its summit, and Bhutan has declared it will remain that way forever. That decision to leave a mountain unconquered out of deep reverence says everything about this kingdom. The Ha Valley in the far west opens between forested ridges that no tourist road reached until very recently. Its farmhouses are older than most structures in all surrounding countries, entirely unchanged and perfectly still. Walking above the Ha Valley reveals prayer flags against a sky too blue for any single word. Colors here are more saturated than expected, the greens darker, the blues deeper, the whites more absolute. Bhutan's rivers run through gorges carved by 10 million years of glacial pressure through the rock below. The water turns jade green where the rivers slow and widen into the valley floor beneath the great peaks. An iron chain bridge near Tamcho Ling has spanned two riverbanks across open air since the 15th century. It sways gently in the Himalayan wind, its links hand-forged, its prayers tied in white strips to the railings. The Chimi Lakang temple sits alone in a rice paddy, reached only by a footpath through golden fields. In autumn, the paddies turn the color of saffron, and the temple at their center holds completely still. Above the Chelela Pass at 4,000 meters, the Himalayas reveal themselves in a full, unobstructed arc. The silence at that altitude is the most complete silence available anywhere on this planet's surface. Prayer flags at the pass move in high wind, their colors faded by altitude into the softest pastels. They have moved like this at every Bhutanese pass since before any written record of them was ever made. Bhutan has preserved what the modern world has nearly lost, a landscape the weight of time left untouched. Other countries have beautiful places within them, but Bhutan itself is the beautiful place without exception. It is not a country that contains wonders. It is a wonder that holds a country inside itself. Bhutan is not merely beautiful beyond description, it is beauty itself, preserved in its purest form.